So the Houston Rockets have now lost 4 straight games, and at times they've looked very sloppy. And so I'm just going to get into it. What's gone wrong? And also, is there some long-term effects? Do we need to be worried? Or is this just a rough stretch? And one example of a sloppy play is this one, where, you look right over here, and you see right now Covington is pushing Harden. Literally, he has his hand on Harden saying, hey, you got to get over to the perimeter. You're too close in right now. They already have Austin Rivers, who is currently in the paint, and now Covington is right near the paint. So for Harden, I mean, get further out. Make sure that you can cover some of those guys. Now, what's going to happen for the Magic is that Michael Carter Williams is going to crash in right here. But again, watch what happens when he does, in fact, crash in. He runs in, and Harden runs in to basically meet him there, which is just not something you have to do right now. I understand the appeal. You see someone crashing in, he looks relatively open. But at the end of the day, you gotta just trust your other guys who are playing defense right over there, especially when now Terrence Ross behind you is going to be completely wide open. Because of that, the pass does go to Ross, and Ross is easily able to hit that three, and that's just something that Houston has to avoid, quite frankly, is they can't be making those kind of mistakes. They do have to make sure they guard the perimeter, if they're going to be the 3 points is worth more than 2 points type of team, well, they can't be giving up 3-pointers, and it seems like lately they have been giving up a lot of open threes. And listen, every now and then an open three is going to happen, but what you don't want to allow happening is just because you're not on the same page. You want to make sure that you just know what you're supposed to do at all times, and part of it is because I think this is a new group, it's a new style of offense. They're just, a lot of guys are doing things they're not used to, and they haven't quite worked out all the kinks yet, but at the same time, it is showing they are at times just making mistakes. Like, this play is a very good example of that, where what's going to happen is that, first things first, what you're going to see is that Devontae Graham is going to crash in, which is now going to force PJ Tucker to be the guy who's going to stunt in front of him. But in him doing this, it's now going to leave Miles Bridges wide open in the corner where he can potentially shoot a three. And so, okay, for Houston, obviously it's a bad situation. Somebody's getting free to the basket, so you have to, PJ Tucker has to stunt. He can't give up the free layup. But then what do you do to counteract that? Well, there's several things you could do. You could just have everybody rotate one over, That's something you could do, as you like what you see on the screen, have everyone do that. Pretty much the one thing that you're basically going to have to do is Covington is going to have to make sure that he covers the corner right here. That's just, he's the closest guy in the area. You can't leave a wide open corner three, so he should run over and do that. And so maybe the other thing you could think about doing is have Ben McLemore just simply run over and he makes sure that he's now guarding the wing, and that way you can get your rotation, make sure everyone is now covered. That's another thing you could do, but I'm not sure what Houston was doing here, and in fact, it looks like they weren't sure either, because as you see, the ball does go over to the corner, but now if you look, okay, so Covington, he's basically trying to cover two guys at this point, forcing the pass in a certain direction, but now he has to run over and cover the corner, so that totally makes sense. But now you're going to leave somebody wide open in the wing. But look at McLemore, he's not entirely sure where he's supposed to go. He at first starts crashing in, doesn't even really close out at the wing at all, which allows for a three to happen, and that was, this isn't like he's been playing a long time, this is literally the first basket of the game, so you just can't let that happen. I think this is an example of what Houston is going to have to work on, is, quite frankly, they're going to have to make sure that every situation they know what they're supposed to do. They just weren't really doing that too much. And I gotta be honest about another thing. There's been a bit of, I don't want to call it laziness, but it seems like there hasn't been a ton of awareness and a ton of hustle going on in a way that I think in a postseason game, they might be more locked in and they might be in better shape. But like, take a look at this play. I mean, it's not just like, well, Harden's the guy that's going to get all the blame because he's James Harden. It's not just Harden. Like, watch this. I mean, you're going to have a player run out to the wing, and Covington, if you look at him, he's not paying attention right now. He is focused on the ball handler. But PJ Washington is now going to just be wide open in the wing. Covington was late in getting back because he wasn't totally focused. Admittedly, Washington missed the shot, but you can't focus on that if you're a defender. You have to focus on not allowing them to have good shots. Sometimes you make a bad play, and luckily the shot doesn't fall. Covington just has to be a little bit more aware than that. And Covington's good, so he's probably not the best example to show because there has been other guys who have struggled at that. But It's just, pay a little bit more attention and hustle a little bit more. I do think that's what they need to be doing. Part of me does wonder if their high minute totals have kind of come back to bite them a little bit. In fact, I definitely think that is the case. I think that the high minute totals sometimes wear them out, and if you're going to play small ball, you have to have a lot of energy. So that could be a factor in their 4-game losing streak, although I still don't want to overreact over 4 games. It is just 4 games. But let's just talk about this play as well, where what's going to happen is that Miles Bridges is going to pass the ball to Cody Zeller, and then Zeller is going to drive towards the basket, and Bridges will simply just take Zeller's spot back at the wing. So, pretty simple play right here, nothing too fancy at this point. But if you see, okay, so Zeller runs in, and now Harden is going in to try to make sure that he doesn't allow for an easy drive to the basket. But because of this is now going to leave an open player who is at the wing. It's not wide open necessarily because Harden can't get back. But, it's a good pass for Zeller to make. He is going to end up passing it there. But Harden, to his credit, does a pretty good job at getting back. So Zeller gets the ball to Martin. Martin decides that he's going to decide to drive right here. He could shoot it, but he wants to drive. So that's what he's going to do. And Harden is the kind of guy you can't attack on a drive. And so right now, the real guy to take a look at is going to be House right here. Because for House, he should be saying, I still need to make sure I'm guarding the wing right here because I have PJ Tucker behind me. Basically, just trust your teammates right here. That's what he should do. But instead, he's going to try to step in front. And that's going to leave just a completely wide open Terry Rozier, who even makes a 3 and gets a foul. Just not, again, it's the kind of thing where it's like, have discipline, trust your teammates. The whole mindset of the small ball idea is that 3 is worth more than 2. You might get more 2s than us, but we're going to get more 3s, and we're going to get a lot more 3s. That's the idea. Part of the reason why they've lost 4 straight is they've just missed a ton of open shots. Like, that's definitely been a real thing, without a doubt. In fact, to me, that's the biggest thing, I think, is that they've just missed open shots. And obviously, that doesn't make for a great video, just showing them missing open shots, but that has happened. However, Houston has some other things they have to work on, and listen, this is coming from a guy who actually likes the Houston Rockets. I feel like I'm the only neutral fan that actually likes them, but, they have things to work on come playoff time if they're going to be a real threat. Like something like this, it's very simple, where the ball is going to go in the corner right here, and you look at Harden, just look at how far off he's playing right now. Miles Bridges has the ball, and he's just playing too far back. Bridges is able to easily shoot over him and make a 3 just like that. So, it's this kind of thing where it's like, play a little bit closer. That's what you're supposed to do. But, again, those small things really do matter. I also think, again, really the key thing is just understanding your assignment. Like Russell Westbrook right here on this play. What's going to happen is that Paul George has the ball, and you look at Westbrook, Paul George's former teammate. He's looking at Paul George and making sure that if there is a pass, he can make sure that he deflects it. That's what he's trying to do right here. Not a terrible idea. There is going to be a player who runs out behind him. But, at this point, it's not a terrible position to be in. However, as Marcus Morris gets further back, Russell Westbrook doesn't. So at this point, Westbrook is just way too far away from Morris. And you're basically in no man's land. You're not doing anything. The ball gets over to Morris, and now the one thing that is good about both Westbrook and PJ Tucker is how they hustle back and are able to close out and at least not allow for a completely wide open 3. The shot doesn't fall, but that is a very makeable shot, no doubt about it. And Westbrook just wasn't in great position right there. Again, I get it. It's difficult. You don't have eyes in the back of your head. But positioning is so important in basketball, especially on defense. So, again, just something they're going to have to work on. This play is another one where what's going to happen is that Kawhi Leonard is going to drive towards the basket. And so first, Harden, he's the guy who is just on Leonard right now, so he's going to stay on Leonard, try to play good defense. You're also going to have Covington stunt right over there, so he's getting back, and he can afford to do this because Zubac is also going to be driving in, being ready for a potential pass, so everything is good there so far. And now, so the rest of the way this play is going to work, Eric Gordon makes sure that he runs over and covers the corner shooter, and this just leaves 2 players left since PJ Tucker is covering the other corner shooter. You got Russell Westbrook and Reggie Jackson right here, and so it seems pretty obvious. Westbrook, just stay back, make sure that you guard Reggie Jackson, you should be good, but instead, watch how he just completely just runs to the ball. again, it's kind of one of the things about Westbrook where he's almost like a dog sometimes, where he wants the ball so badly and he wants to make a great play so badly, which is great, obviously, but sometimes you got to just do the right thing for the play, and he's just way too far in. I mean, if you look at Reggie Jackson, it doesn't get any more open than this. Again, misses the shot, but it wasn't a great defensive play. And those are some of the flaws the Rockets have had. It's something they do have to work on, in my opinion. However, that being said, am I worried about the Rockets? Do I think the Rockets are in trouble? I mean, I may be less high on them as I was a week ago, but at the same time, no, I am not worried whatsoever. I do think that they will figure this out. I think their defense, they need to work on some things. They need to focus a little bit more on guarding the perimeter and accept the fact that you're going to give up some easy twos. That's kind of what this whole system has been built around. And then you're going to make some threes. Obviously, one of the huge problems is just that this has been one of the worst 4-game stretches James Harden has had in his entire career. So that's definitely a huge factor in all this. However, I think their biggest problem right now is just they haven't been making the shots they usually make. So, again, ask me in another week how they're doing. I'll probably feel a little bit stronger either way, but for now, don't panic, but definitely maybe be a bit worried. I think that's fair if you are a Rockets fan. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.